So,
Hello, Shannon.
hello there. I'm hoping somebody's got some questions because I'm pretty
Yeah,
scattered. Yeah.
Oh, he does.
I have one. How do you get rid of chipmunks? I just went and bought a cage. I thought I could catch them and then release them, and now I found out this is illegal in Michigan.
Yeah. Technically, we're supposed to destroy animals that we catch, but I can tell you that people don't do that. If you were caught by a DNR person, or if you were at somebody's house letting a chipmunk loose and they decided to call the police and the police got there, they could charge you. But it happens all the time. I mean, people are just not into drowning and killing caged
Nope.
animals.
Yep. Nope.
You know, you do have to take them at least 5 miles away. They will find their way back from anything less than that.
Oh, we can take him to Timbuktu.
5 miles. I
Um,
could
The nature center.
yeah, what
take
are
them to La Pia.
are they undermining something in your yard?
Well, I felt they went too far now. They're in the planter box next to the patio, and they got the sand out, which is at least 2 feet below the dirt. And
They do a lot of it. It's amazing how big their underground warrens can be and how much soil they can kick out. It's true. Yeah.
More than one place.
So I'm beginning to wonder if around the whole house, if they have a run. Because last fall, I had this pile on the side of the house, but right down at the house wall, and I couldn't figure out why there is this pile of sand there, and I couldn't see an animal there, but I guess they were way further down.
They're pushing the sand out. I've seen that happen before. Groundhogs. I one time walked out into my garden and then I walked back into the house and yelled at Steve for dumping a wheelbarrow of sand in my vegetable garden. He says I didn't dump any sand, but if you look closer, yeah, there had been a groundhog digging, and he just pushed that much soil up out. Foxes too. We had a fox den behind a client's garden, and man, it's amazing how much soil they can push out. So yeah, so that's probably what it is. I don't know that I can't say I have a lot of hope that even in trapping them you'll be okay because they just keep moving in from other places when it's a chipmunk year. And one of my clients was trapping chipmunks one summer, and I while I was there working, I heard the trap shut. I said, I think you got another chipmunk. She said, another one. I'll be back in a bit. And I said, how many chipmunks have you caught? She said, about 112. I said,
Oh my
you
gosh.
12. I said, where are you taking them? And she told me where it was, and it was only about 2 miles away. I said, I think you might be trapping some of them more than once, but she did. Yeah, coincidentally, clients in that direction had a huge influx of chipmunks that year, and I began to wonder whether or not they might be some of the same chipmunks. Yeah, I know that it is illegal to move animals anymore, but I can't do it. I tried one time and I was sick for days from killing a poor defenseless animal. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so mostly now we have chipmunks, and we haven't seen the chipmunk for about a year, and suddenly the chipmunk or a chipmunk is back again, and we're kind of glad to see him. But he is undermining stuff. There's a stone in the patio that I said, this stone didn't used to be a little lower than all the other stones. I think I think I might have to raise it back up. So good luck with that. But do move him at least a ways. One of our and I say that because we've moved animals over a lot of years, like since before it was illegal. But our friend Anne, her dad was decided to stop trying to kill squirrels. He was going to move them out of the yard, and he began to suspect they were getting back. So he started painting their butts. He would spray paint some kind of color on their tail or their rump, and then while they were back, if he didn't move them at least 5 miles, they were back within 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that amazing? Across streets,
Instead,
yeah, if you can get them across a river, that's probably good.
get him across the river.
Yeah. What do they say? Up the river they go. Let's see. I don't think I saw Holly here today. Nancy, no alphabetical order. No, Holly's not here. But Holly, everybody should stand up, salute, and give Holly a big to do. This is these beds. They moved into the house a couple of years ago. Rock and landscape fabric everywhere, and
Oh my,
they have completed the project. The rock and the landscape fabric are gone. And she said, now I can actually plant something. And I think that that deserves a lot of credit because, boy, that's so much work to take rock out. They eventually had a company come and help scrape rock out of the front here because they just got to where they said, we can't move any more rock. What will we do with all this rock? Yeah. But that's a big, not if I said Holly, her name is Carrie Holly, and I'm always reversing her name. A big salute to Carrie. And is John here? No, John's not here. John asked about, these are Pennisetum, perennial fountain grass. He said they did get cut down. You know, can I cut them down now? You can cut them down now, but I guess I have to ask for your opinion. Does that look terrible? I mean, it looks like ornamental grasses to me.
Looks like good.
Yeah,
Looks good to me.
they've kind of grown over all of the old stuff already. So if it was one of the big tall grasses, they'd still have a ways to go up to cover it over. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. They can get a dead center quicker if you do that for too many years, but no reason not to cut it down. I hate cutting down grasses. It's a lot of work.
but didn't they just come up? Isn't this new growth?
Yeah, the green is all new growth, but underneath there, let me see it. I wonder if I can zoom in.
Oh, I can't see anything on
Yeah, there's a little bit, you can see a little bit of straw here around the edges where it's just, so it was laying flat and they've grown up through it. There's a little bit sticking up here, but I didn't think it looked bad. I told them I'd just leave them myself. Because you cut them down at this time of year, everybody expects everything to be lush. Somebody's going to be asking you, why didn't you plant something there?
Yeah, I would leave them too.
Yeah. So I almost tried to put in the video of the flamingos. They were so cute. I was down at the Toledo Zoo with Diane yesterday and got to go into the pen with the flamingos. They, I don't know if you've noticed, my arms have, I keep it kind of clipped, but I have a lot of hair on my arms. The flamingos were quite interested in the hair on my arms, putting their beaks next to me and trying to eat the hair on my arms, which I thought was fairly cool. Yeah, they were nice creatures though. I have this thing about birds and I don't know how to hold them. I don't know what to do with them. We had birds for a while. They always bit me. So I have a hesitance to be around birds, but these guys were very personable and very nice. This is multiflora rose. Here's what happens if you're a rose. This is a climber rose, and it still exists in here. There's a different foliage in there, but from under the graft, the rootstock came up, and the rootstock, in the case of many of the climber roses, is multiflora roses, which you really don't want to have. But it's come up and it's blooming, and can look kind of pretty when it blooms. It just blooms the one time, little tiny white flowers, and then little red fruits in clusters that come afterwards. And in this particular case, this is at Sonia's house, then the actual climber that's in there blooms afterwards. That's one of the brightest white foxes there is. Although, Therese, were you here? You said that David is definitely whiter. I mean, how can you get any whiter than that? But this is a Carolina phlox. Who asked about phlox? I think Carol asked about phlox. Carol said that her phlox is showing signs of white spots developing on the leaves, and should she take the leaves off? The other phloxes, phlox maculata and phlox, I've forgotten the other name, paniculata. The common tall phloxes that we grow in our gardens, also called garden phlox, they're relatively susceptible to mildew. Some of them are more resistant than others, more resistant, but most of them will get it. And those, you need to thin them out. This has probably 25 stems just across this dimension of the clump. And it won't get sick even with the stems close together. But the other phloxes, like David and Starfire and Omega and Alpha, they should be thin them out in the spring. When they come up, thin them out so that a clump that's as big as a dinner plate only has 5 stems coming up. You'll still get just as much flower across the top because they'll branch and branch again, but there'll be room between the stems for air to move through. So I told her, well, yeah, take off the bad leaves, but take off the bad leaves after you've taken a bunch of stems out so that air can flow through the bottom of the plant and keep it more clean. So take some stems out, then go ahead and take off the bad leaves. And if it continues, if next year the flax also gets mildew, that same flax also gets mildew, even though you thinned it, get rid of it. Get a better flax in there, because there are better flaxes. The late blooming Viticella clematis have just begun to bloom in our yard. Uh-oh, no link for tonight's webinar. Therese. Go to Friday's page on Garden A to Z.
Janet,
Site. Yeah. Okay, yes.
listen, you got it, because we didn't get a link either. So I went
And-
to one of the older Free4All Fridays, and I used that old link and it worked.
I thank you, and yes, that link, it's the same link for each of these meetings, and now that you mention it, we forgot to send out. We always send out an
Right.
and we forgot all about it.
Because I saw the book club and I saw the recording from last Free4All. I'm like, there's got to be some way to get in here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys figured it out, but it is always the same
I had a hunch.
link for the Fridays, and it's posted on the Fridays page, so you should be able to find it there. Yeah. We're
Where
always
there's a will, there's a way.
looking to see if anybody else. No, I thought there might be somebody else texting me to say they need to get in. Diane says the flamingos liked me. I think flamingos like people. Showering me with kisses, that's it. Hey, Therese, she made it in. Good, thank you. Yeah, it turns out we forgot to send out the invitation. So the late blooming small flowered clematis. This one is Clematis Viticella. I do not remember which variety it is. There's a lot of varieties, but it just opened these flowers yesterday, and it's already, you can see, it's heading up the tree, and I'm gonna let it head up the tree. I'll take it off after the year. I don't think it'll shade out too much of that fur, but it might look kind of pretty to have purple flowers hanging out through that fur. Stephen is not back yet. We're having one of those crunch days. Okay, I'm going to. Oh, Therese, you got your hand up. Why don't you go ahead?
I was just so I was having trouble finding the link for this. So I was, checking, gardenatoz.org, and all I could get was gardenatoz.com, and it did not have the Fridays.
No, because we didn't have Friday way back then.
Right. So I don't know.
I'm so surprised that .com is still there. I thought we took
That's
it.
all I could find. I couldn't find .org.
Huh.
I tried for quite a while.
Yeah, well, I know it's up because I was working. I was using it today to get some pictures of things. So that might be one of those things that I'll ask Sonia about. It could be that there's what do they call them? Cookies. There might be cookies on your computer that you have to empty your cache, because as soon as you type in X number of letters, if you've got something already there, and the website is the same, but the ending is different, it might be connecting you that way. Cookies. They're supposed to help.
Okay, maybe, yeah, that might be it. So yeah, thank you. I was just, but I did kind of what the other caller did was I finally found it on an older something. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for looking.
I'm sure it's screw loose behind the keyboard on my end, but yeah.
No. We have a lot of screws loose, I think. Yeah.
Janet,
Yes.
Janet, what I did was I just went to one of the emails that you send everybody, and before all you got the little thing underneath the green bar, and it says gardenatoz.org on there. And I just clicked on that, and it immediately took me to that page.
Oh,
and then I saw Fridays.
That's a good
and
idea.
I clicked on Fridays. So
Thank you.
That's how I got mine.
Good. So we might be a small group tonight, so everybody can just leave their microphones open and we can shout at each other. Well, no, I guess there's 14 is kind of a lot to have everybody open. Anyway, so yeah, so mute your microphones. Teresa, if your hand is still up, go ahead. I mean, it looks to me like, no, it's gone, okay. So we'll stay muted and all the rest of that jazz today. My sister's birthday yesterday, I missed it. I am so good at forgetting what days of the week it is. How do you do this when you're retired? You just work every day. Okay, so you know where your hand raising is. I think everybody here is a regular. So this is our 80th Free4All Friday. It is June 19th. We're celebrating growing, cultivating problem solving, and it looks like we might be doing it with just me. Steve took the grandson to hockey practice. We're watching the grandkids while our son and daughter-in-law are off for an extended date for their 16th anniversary. And there might be some noise a little bit later because the kids are here, and last I heard they were running around chasing each other. So we'll do a Free4All Friday, and it will literally be free for all out there outside my door. That's us. Everybody here knows us. It's me. Jean is on her list. I worked with the website quite a bit today because I was looking to see how many articles we had about a particular topic, and I said, this is just, Sonia tells me that search engines for where was she searching? I think the New York Times, and she said their search is worthless. I said, well, I feel a little bit better if even the New York Times has a website that can't, but it's hard to find what you want to find quickly on site. And by the time I found stuff, I said, okay, there's not enough stuff here, so we're going to get into one topic kind of in depth today. Free4All Fridays. So remember that, everybody who's here anyway, remember that Fridays, if you can get to gardenaz.org, click on Fridays, and the link is there, and it's always the same link. Always the same link. And always going to record automatically. It was kind of cool today when I looked, I said, oh, it says I can join. Not that I have to start the meeting, I can join. There are people setting this up for me already. My sister sent me this one. I didn't realize that this is something that people grow in gardens. This is scarlet monkey flower. And can you imagine that hummingbirds would like that? That nice nectary back in their pouch, which is open for them, that bright red. This is a wildflower of the desert, of Southwest United States, usually along stream banks, kind of like where our cardinal flower would be. Pretty plant. It's in the same family as monkey plant that's here in Michigan is native along the edges of water. Our penstemon, it's called foxglove penstemon digitalis, is really putting on a show this year. Really, I wish that there were 100 hummingbirds working it, but we don't have that many of them around. People asking about pests, because it is the time of year when the trouble that insects are causing us, and diseases to a certain extent, they start showing up about now. Up until now, it's all been just lush growth and new stuff, and we want to remind people, Steve and I talked about this a little bit, if you've got some kind of new problem, first identify what it is. First figure out what it is, then you can assess what the potential trouble is and make a management plan. But until you identify what it is, don't jump on it. Don't, what we call revenge spraying. People say, should I spray it? Just hold off. Let's see. Those holes in the leaves are probably from slugs. They're typical of slugs in the center of the leaf like that. That wasn't what bothered Bonnie about this. It was this, that the stem, the petiole, the connection between the leaf and the rest of the runner of the strawberry was enlarged like this. And she said, oh no, I got a problem. And she took them out, and that's good, take them out. See, there's a hole in this one. This is a petiole gall maker, or petiole borer, depending on which book you look in. And it happens in strawberries sometimes. It's never a big deal. You can just pluck out the ones that look like this. It doesn't spread to other plants, as in other species of plants. It's specific to strawberry. And it might weaken a patch if there's enough of it in there, because that insect has disrupted some of the flow between the leaf and the roots, but it's no big deal. And this is a petiole. A petiole connects, wait, is that right? Yes. A petiole connects leaf to the rest of the plant. A peduncle connects the fruit to the rest of the plant. Anyway, so this is a petiole borer, or sometimes called a petiole gall maker. And eating the serviceberry, Steve brought this one into me. He said, "Oh, serviceberry's got trouble." I said, "Well, no, not terrible trouble." He said, "But look, the fruit's going to dry up and fall out if it wasn't pollinated well enough to become a full-size fruit. That happens sometimes. But this right here, if you look at it closer, that's not you might think that that's a disease, a fungus spreading there. If you look at it closer, you can see that the leaf has been scraped off. And this is classic symptoms for the apple skeletonizer, which skeletonizes leaves. It'll leave the veins generally. So once it's totally done with the leaf, there'll be just veins left and all of this going on here. It happens early in the year, before the leaves are fully pushed out. It's already happening. And the caterpillar, it is a caterpillar, it's a little moth. This caterpillar does what, if those of you who live under oak trees have had it, these little caterpillars dangle down in front of you on a little thin web. If they're disturbed in some way, they'll drop out of the tree like that and dangle, and these will do that. But they're not a serious problem. With all of them, you need to look at it and say, how much leaf surface is gone? So what, maybe half the leaf surface on this one. Probably not half, less than half. And how much these other leaves are not affected, and it's done. It's already turning brown and gone, and there's no new damage coming on. You can say, well, that's not enough trouble. That's going to cause a big deal. The rule of thumb for damage is 20%. If there's 20% of the leaf surface, and that's of all the leaf surface, not just 20% of one leaf, but 20% of all the leaf surface damaged, then it's often advised that you take some management action. And that 20% is based on agriculture and pomaculture, fruit growing and crop growing. If you lose 20% of your leaf surface, you can lose 20% of your crop. And in many cases, that eliminates your margin of profit at all, because you had to pay for all the energy and time it took to plant and to apply fertilizers and pesticides and that kind of thing. So the 20% is a rule that's meant for the professional guys, not so much for us, but we can use the same guide. So the fruits on low-grow sumac, also called fragrant sumac. I love it that the fruits, everything is fuzzy on here. The stems are fuzzy, the leaves underside are fuzzy, the fruits are fuzzy. I have been told that that's not only a defense against moisture loss, that when the leaf, hairy is, the underside is what the hairy side is, and the underside of the leaf has little holes that are stomata, where the gas exchange happens, because when they're breaking apart water into hydrogen and oxygen, and through photosynthesis mixing that with carbon and making carbohydrates, something has to be given off. So they give it off through those stomata and take it in through those stomata. On the underside of the leaf, when they give off water vapor, the excess water vapor that goes out, it actually gets trapped in the hairs and stays there and keeps the leaf moister than it would otherwise. And also, because the hairs are, to us, they're just little tiny things sticking out. But to an insect trying to get its mouth around that, trying to get down to the actual leaf and bite it, it's a deterrent. So fuzz on the leaf can help with growing in dry or hot places, and can also help keep the insects away. And there are very few things that bother fragrant sumac. Although this is a leaf gall, right? We saw, what leaf gall did we see last week? Linden leaf gall, I think. This is sumac leaf gall, and it's another mite that lays its eggs there and irritates the leaf, and the leaf forms a little bump where the damage is happening inside. I am envious of Sonia, who got her weeding all done, got her garden caught up. I said, man, I used to get a garden caught up. I used to go out there and work for 8 hours and get everything done. And I don't do that now. Now I go out and I mess around for about a couple hours, and then I come in for a while, and I go out again, and I come in for a while. Being retired, it's different, isn't it? She has a terrible problem with sow thistle coming in from the neighbors over here. And this bed usually has lots of sow thistle in it, but she's got it all taken care of. We were talking about roots with Sonia and with Jerry, who sent in a note. If you have damaged roots on a plant, damaged because you just divided it, damaged because you were digging around it, damaged because you transplanted it and you know that you broke some roots, don't fertilize. And I don't think I have a picture of this. No, I don't have a picture that's specific for this. This is Sonia's cherry tree, which had its roots damaged when they tore down the house that used to be in this gap behind her here. And she wondered, should I fertilize it? It would be best if you held off on fertilizing, because nitrogen fertilizers, not so much the phosphorus and the potassium, but nitrogen against damaged roots can actually cause more decay in the root. It's just a function of how nitrogen acts with the things that live in the soil. So if you've got a damage problem like that, or you've just transplanted something, you've just potted something up, that's not the time to go putting a fertilizer on. You'd wait and put the fertilizer on after the plant has gotten established, or you'd use a fertilizer that doesn't have much, if any, nitrogen in it. She has a problem because that cherry's roots are in the vegetable garden area, and the ones on the other side were the ones that were damaged. I said, well, overall, you don't have that much area here coming out from the trunk of the tree. You've got maybe 1/8 of the tree's roots are involved there, and you're not heavily fertilizing your garden. Go ahead and fertilize your vegetable garden, but don't go fertilizing the whole tree all the way around, or trying to fertilize on that other side of the fence. I saw this yesterday and whooped. Well, this is one of Sonia's and I have some other people that I've talked to, one of our worst weeds, showing off why it's sometimes sold. This is called bell towers. It's Campanula rapunculoides, one of the bell flowers. It is just a vicious spreader. And somebody maybe put it in this garden on purpose, or maybe when it came in, they said, oh, well, this is kind of a cool plant, and they left it in. And now they got it pretty much forever. You have to do a lot of digging to get that out. It's a great name for a punky plant, Campanula rapunculoides. There's my flamingo friends. Having met them, I then on YouTube met Mala and Hakalia, two flamingos at another zoo that were being taken from their group and put into a pond in order to swim and strengthen their legs. One of them had had knee surgery. Knee surgery. Can you imagine? They didn't want them to just go into the pond and stand there. So they put them in the pond where the stingrays were being hosted temporarily. So all under the feet of these flamingos were these stingrays going by. Their barbs had been removed, so there wasn't going to be a problem with them stinging. And the stingrays seemed as interested in what the feet were that were in their pool as the flamingos were. Okay, I think it was last week, and I think it was Nancy, we got to talking about clovers. What's the good clover? What's the bad clover? And I was explaining by waving my hands around that some of these things people call clover are not even clover. I thought you probably should see pictures to know. This is the Dutch white clover. This is my lawn where I mow in and out. And I think right now, let's see, where are we? Yeah, right now this plot is mowed short again, and this one is being allowed to come up tall. I just keep mowing different areas to let different ones come up tall and attract the bunnies and the bees and that kind of thing. But that's Dutch white clover, which has a good place in lawns because it is all of the pea family, clover being in the pea family, are able to associate with nitrogen, with bacteria on their roots. These bacteria infect the roots, so they live inside the root of the pea plant. And then the bacteria are able to absorb nitrogen from the air. Plants can't absorb nitrogen from the air. It has to be dissolved in water before they can get it. So these bacteria absorb nitrogen from the air. They use it, excrete nitrogen-bearing liquid, and the plants can take it up. These bacteria are responsible for most of the plant fertility in the world over the eons of time that this has been going on. So clover is good to have in a lawn. And that's the clover down there with the kind of a little ring that continues across the leaflets. There's the clover flower. It's kind of a thimble of little tiny pea flowers jammed together in a thimble. But coming up in the middle of it is something that people call clover. See, it has a clover-like leaf, this lighter green color. But see the yellow flower with the 5 petals? Not at all like a clover flower, not at all like a pea family flower. This is not clover, it's an oxalis. And this one, I think, is yellow tall sorrel, one of the oxalis that gets into our gardens. There are several of them, that's why I say I think it's there. There's another one here that people sometimes think is clover with these little yellow flowers here and here, and similar leaf, its leaves are down here. That's black medic. It's another member of the pea family. It's not a clover. The distinction is kind of fine. It still can fix nitrogen, but it's not as good at living with grass. Some people say it's a little too pushy. So you have clover, and each of these is a pea flower. Their seed pods are clustered just like the flowers are. This is black medic, yellow, flowered, and then a pea family plant. And then this is one of the oxalis with the yellow broad petals. Don't go by leaf because lots of leaves look the same. So here's black medic with oxalis in it. So black medic's got the 3 leaflets rounded and the yellow flowers, and there's 3 leaflets bifurcated like that in the oxalis. And there are several oxalis. There's tall wood sorrel, there's creeping wood sorrel, there's yellow, which I think is the annual form. There's a bunch of these different sorrels. They bug gardeners a lot because they spread quickly. This is the one called creeping wood sorrel. Often has this purplish leaf on it. It has the same flower. I couldn't right offhand find a picture of it in flower, but it's a little yellow flower with 6 petals. But it's a perennial and it creeps underground. It does this number underground. So if you want to curse it by name, this is an oxalis or a sorrel. Wood sorrel most often, or yellow sorrel they're called. And the others are clover. And all of them can be pretty. There's always that thing to do about weeds and just say, it's kind of pretty. Maybe I should leave it there. It looks good with the hosta. Unfortunately, it's going to make a lot of seeds and come up all over the place. But there's our caramia rolling and enjoying the warm sun and the soft grass. There she's laying on where the clover's been cut here and is growing up next to her. She picked up right next to it. Thyme and curly chives, 2 kinds of thyme, golden thyme, woolly thyme, and curly chives. Did I tell you that I put the curly chives right at the edge of the road? The road is salted by a contractor and also salted occasionally by the county because we're on a bus route, a school bus route. So I wanted to see how it handles this. And for 2 years, this curly chives has done wonderfully, despite the fact that it's right there where the salt comes in and gets piled on top of it. So I think it has to do with the kind of waxy coating that's on the allium leaf, that it's shedding the salt. And maybe it's tolerant of salt in the soil too, because it must end up in the soil. Are there any questions? I have not been paying attention to the chat. Black medic gives black seeds, and thus the name black medic. Could be right, and medic must be that they use it. In fact, its name is medico. They must have used it for something. I have not looked that one up to see what the herbalists used to use that for. Something is eating creeping Jenny. Oh, creeping Jenny is a if it's the creeping Jenny that I think of, it's a round leaf, creeps right flat along the ground. There's also a gold form called golden coins or golden creeping Jenny. If it is the Lysimachia that I'm thinking of, there is a sawfly. They look like caterpillars, but they hatch out instead into tiny relatives of wasps and bees. They're not stinging insects, but they will munch through leaves in no time at all. Mark had them on his taller Lysimachia a while ago, and had to deal with them. And we looked up for him when they first come out, and he started going out there and squashing them when they first came out. But they're kind of gray colored, which it's surprising that on a green leaf or a gold form leaf that you wouldn't see them, but they hang right on the edge of the leaf and kind of conform themselves to the edge of the leaf. They just look like a border on the leaf. And as they get larger, they can and get ready to pupate and turn into the sawfly adult. They can eat a lot of leaf in a little bit of time. They're not deadly to the plant, but boy, they can really make your planting look a little ragged as they eat through all those leaves. Okay, let's see it here. Amy, I'd look at your serviceberry and see whether those curled, the rust spots that you see on your serviceberry, see if they really are rust. Turn the underside of the leaf over. You would see rust. You'd see pustules on the bottom side if it was rust, because the color, the orange, can be scraping on the leaf and can cause it to be orange. You can get rust on a serviceberry, and it's generally associated with junipers. Yeah, junipers are also the alternate host. And so someplace there's a juniper nearby that is, the spores are blowing over to your serviceberry. And this year we're probably going to be seeing much more leaf disease coming up, rusts, scabs, because we had a long cold period after a warm up this spring. So the plants leafed out, and then it was cold, so the leaves were in arrested growth. And while they're in arrested growth, they don't have a complete cuticle, a covering on the leaf, and they're open to being occupied by spores. And then later in the summer, as the temperatures rise more to where the spores are able to grow, they grow. So we're going to be seeing a lot of that. We went through crabapple collection at Hidden Lake Garden, and saw a lot of crabapples at Fernwood Gardens this weekend. And already those trees are half defoliated if you look at them. So it's probably going to be a bad disease year, but it won't kill the plants. No, certainly won't kill the plants. Okay, let's see what else is in chat that I missed here. Here we go. Okay, recycling pots. Hey, Carol, is that you? Yeah. Does anyone know if washing plastic plant pots and putting them in recycling bin is effective? At one time I heard that waste disposal companies weren't accepting them. Maybe someone else has an inside line on this one. I've stopped recycling all plastic. I use it as little as I can. I avoid buying plastic. Anytime I get plastic, I cut it up so it's going to be in small pieces, and I put it in the regular garbage and I throw it out, because as far as I could tell from listening to some blogs about recycling, our plastic was really just getting loaded onto ships and getting shipped off to third world countries where they stack it up and it gets blown around. I would rather that we took the responsibility for it and put it in our own landfills. That's my own personal taste. What I did hear in those blogs about the plastic was that so many of these plastics are ephemeral needs. Some company that does some recycling will find out that there's someone who needs X kind of plastic, and they'll get that kind of plastic from the recycling authorities for a little while, and then the project's over and they cut it off. So places like, well, Golden Walsh Nursery, Tim Travis, the owner there, did a lot of recycling, took in pots from people. He said, bring your pots here. They would rinse them off, stack them by size, and send them off in the truck. And in the middle of the season, the demand for that type of plastic went away, and he was stuck with, did he say 6 yards? That's a full big dump truck of pots that couldn't go anywhere. So I don't know that there's any real good answer to that. As much as we can use them at home, we should use them at home. There we go. And this is Amsonia in the photo. Yes, it's a young Amsonia. It hasn't done its billowing all the way to the ground. Boy, they're tall this year. They had a great year. Normally after it blooms, because it blooms and then it keeps growing past the flower portion, so the seed pods form inside. Normally after it blooms, I cut the top off because I want fewer seeds if I can do it. And this year I didn't cut the top off, and I don't think I will, because I'll cut them down by half. And it's not because it will hurt them. They'd be fine. But they won't. They look so nice right now. They're so fluffy, and so big, and so tall. But yeah, that's Amsonia tabernaemontana, the blue star, Kentucky blue star. Uh-oh. Okay, who asked about the sugar maples? I have forgotten. I know I typed in a name when I answered it, but I can't remember who said that She was following up on last year. She said her son, I think it was her son, wanted to have the city where he lived take the tree down in his front because he was pretty sure that it was a hazard and branches were going to be falling off of it. And it was a problem, and the city said, no, we don't take it down, it's not a problem. Well, it did fall this year. A big chunk of it fell, and he got the city to take it down, and then the neighbors dropped a big piece onto his property too. The arborist that he had come out, or his mother had come out, whoever did, looked at them and said, well, these are sugar maples, and when sugar maples get older, they're all susceptible to rotting from the inside out. And what the question was, is that true? Well, it's not really true. Street trees overall can have a problem. So this is a sugar maple. You can tell it by the trunk. And that's the deep crack that was in the trunk that was bothering them. When they took it down, you could see the interior, see the dark part on the interior, there we go, it's rotted. And she said, well, is that unusual? No, it's not at all unusual for trees to rot on the inside, and not just maples, but all trees. And some are particularly known. Beeches are known to go back into, whenever it was in Rome that Ovid was writing his epic poetry, he wrote about trees, and when in terms of the beech, because he gave a characteristic of each tree, in terms of the beech, he said, oh, beech with hearts so rotten, because they often have this happening. But that it doesn't happen in isolation. This rot here almost certainly was because these two trunks had included bark. There used to be one top to the tree, and at some point it lost the top and two side branches took over. And where those side branches meet, rather than the bark rolling up the way that it should where they meet, it rolled inward, and the bark kept growing on the inside as the wood grew and pushed those apart. And once they were pushed apart, it's an opening for rot, and that's where that started, and it descends in because there's no stopping point in the trunk. The trunk doesn't have any compartmentalized lines. There are lines between the branch and the trunk. The tree knows every cell that belongs to the branch separate from the cells that belong to the trunk. And if something happens to the branch, the whole branch, including its cells that go deep inside the trunk of the tree, back to the little tiny point when they were just a twig starting, that whole cone fills up with resin when something happens to the trunk, the branch, and the resin keeps insects and fungus out. But when it happens to get past that compartmentalizer or start inside of the trunk, it just spreads up and down. They also, this is probably more than you want to know, but it does bear on this whole issue of whether it's sugar maples. If something happens to a major root on a tree, let's say that they had to trench to put in a new water line, or they had to dig up the street to do something here, chances are pretty good that these major roots of this tree were being hurt just a few feet from the tree. And with a tree this big, probably 30 inches in diameter, if not bigger than that, I need to be 30 feet from the tree to be in a place where if I cut a root, the decay that started at the tip of that cut root would not be able to get all the way back into the trunk. If I had 30 feet, that would be enough room that probably the tree could stop the decay before it got in the trunk. But if I cut within 30 feet, chances are real good that decay will go into the root. And because there's no barrier between the root and the trunk, like there is between the trunk and a branch, any rot that gets through that root goes up on the inside, and it becomes this weak stuff that if you twist the top of the tree enough with wind or weight of something put on it, you can see it peel off like that. Long answer to a short question, but it's something that all street trees, because we do so much digging and construction by the street, and replacing pavement, injuring trees by crushing roots. I mean, all of that stuff can make a difference. So not just maples, but all trees. Diane says she's been taking the pots back to the nursery where she bought them, and they'll usually take them, but other than that, they go to the landfill, even if you put them in the recycle bin. Some nurseries, like Tim Travis at Golden Walsh that I was talking about, would take other plant nurseries pots too, but it's not real common. If it is a problem, I wish we could just put all plants into cardboard pots, but what would we do after 3 weeks of watering them on the retail area in the nursery? They'd start rotting. Yep. We like to be able to take things home just like they are. Somebody's eating my golden satin grass. See all the nice, neatly cut off leaves here? This golden satin grass is close enough to the driveway where we know the deer walk down that it might be the deer, but I don't think so. I think this is our rabbit friend. Anybody else got golden satin grass, Aconocloa, being eaten? And have you seen who's eating it? Yeah. Nothing like animals to keep us busy. Last week, Michelle said, boy, sassafras, why aren't more people planting sassafras? And I mentioned a few things about how they don't transplant very well, but it's true. Too few people know them, and they are gorgeous trees. These are sassafras. These are in my neighborhood. They are native. They belong here in the oak pine barren. They're understory trees under the oaks for the most part. And this strip at the back of Matt's yard here is full of little bitty suckers coming up and seedlings coming up of sassafras. We've tried to move some, and we'll keep working on it. Whoops. They have a cool leaf. I'm sorry, I have the hiccups again. I come to Free4All Friday just to get the hiccups. Leaf can take multiple forms. Here's an unlobed leaf. Here's a leaf with 2 lobes, like a mitten, and here's a leaf with 1 lobe. They're just cool leaves, but the coolest thing about them is the color that they turn in the fall. They're quite often 2 and 3 colors at the same time. So this year it was red and yellow at the same time. This year it turned burgundy first, and then the orange, see it back there, is just developing. That'll be on the interior leaves. They're beautiful trees, small trees, not very fast growing. But very difficult for a nursery to grow in a production situation. So if you know somebody like my friend Matt that's got them growing in there, you can work your way in there and dig out some pieces and see if you can coax one into making a transplant to your yard. But that reminds me of poison ivy, which forgot who asked about dealing with poison ivy. That border behind Matt's is back there is not only full of sassafras, it's full of poison ivy. So I'm used to working in it. It's big in our neighborhood. So someone asked about poison ivy this week, and I was working on poison ivy this week. So I went back to the gardenataz.org website, and I went looking for the poison ivy because we've written about it a number of times. And I realized as I looked at it that it's kind of too scattered. We need one place where we can talk about poison ivy. So this might take a little while, might be the biggest portion of this Free4All Friday. Poison ivy, that's me and poison ivy breaking out on my arm where I must have rubbed into it. Generally, it does not show up right away. For me, it's 24 to 36 hours later, I'll start feeling the itch and seeing the bumps that are there. Some people it's longer. Some people it's Stephen reacts he's a redhead, and he reacts very strongly to poison ivy. The dermatologist said he's not unusual, although it looked to us unusual, every time he touches poison ivy. So if he touched poison ivy on his wrist, he would break out in all the other places in his body where he had been sensitized to poison ivy before. So he might touch it with his wrist and have it on his legs and his stomach afterwards because that's where it had been before. But for me, 24, 36 hours later, I start seeing this. And I see it first where I touched it the most, where the most oil got. And it might be another day before it shows up in the places that got touched more lightly. That leads to people saying that it spreads. It doesn't spread. It is where it touched the oil. And it shows up sooner or later, depending on how much oil got absorbed into your skin. So that's what it looks like. And let's see, why did I pull this one out? Oh, I did it because of our friend Tom. Tom works in the tree industry. He was 50 years old when all of a sudden he reacted to poison ivy. Now, this is a man who works with trees and frequently through the years had worked in poison ivy infested woods and even trees that had poison ivy on them. Had never reacted to poison ivy and was one of the people who said, I'm immune to poison ivy. our dermatologist told us no one should say that because everyone can be sensitive to it. It just depends on how much exposure you get. Well, when Tom finally reacted to it, when he was 50 years old and already 20 years working in woods with poison ivy, it was such a bad case that he had to go immediately to the hospital. His throat was closing up. So if somebody says I'm immune to it, tell them still, I don't want you to touch it, okay? Stay away from this stuff. Don't get your skin on the poison ivy. Because plants, this is from our quotations sections. We have a portion of the what's up on our website is our mentors gallery, and the mentors has a whole quote section in it. And Alan Lacey, a writer that I just love, says that plants are the original chemists. Their sophistication makes DuPont and Monsanto look like little kids with chemistry sets. They are amazing what they do, and it is an oil that it gets into poison that poison ivy produces, and so do other members of its family, poison sumac and the cashew plants, a lacquer tree in Asia. They create an oil. It's an oil called urushiol, and urushiol as an oil lives a long time even after the plant is dead. So even if there's poison ivy vines laying on the ground and you've killed the poison ivy for a couple of years, you shouldn't touch those with bare hands. And what urushiol does is it gets in and irritates the skin and causes you to have all those eruptions and blisters that are terrible. And we've written about it a lot because it keeps happening. You know, people keep asking about what's going on in here, and many of them on our website are in, if I do a search for poison ivy, this is one of the things that comes up, What's Up 94. And in order to read it, you have to read the issue. This particular one wasn't put up yet, and made me say, okay, the issue's not up. I need to talk about poison ivy in a place where we can make a recording and put it all in all at once. Because this one does have being safe when you're controlling poison ivy spread. We put it in a different place. We ended up putting it in, hi there, puppy dog. We ended up putting it in there under gardener's health. So this is the 3 leaflets of poison ivy. This is a poison ivy vine growing up at the base of a tree. It's going up the tree all the way up here. And when they go up is when the vine stands vertically is when they're going to flower. Kind of like climbing hydrangea and wisteria when they get to the top of where they can reach. That's when they start flowering and setting seeds. So when you see poison ivy climbing up trees, then you can be fairly sure that there's going to be poison ivy seedlings in the area because the fruit is being carried around by birds who love to eat it, go sit someplace else, drop seeds or poop, and the new plants start from there. So we do have a lot of places where we show pictures of it in the fall. It turns kind of an orangey color, and it's quite often grown up trees. And one of the telltales, this is in this one, one of the things to look for is that the leaflets of 3, 1, 2, 3. This is a poison ivy seedling in my yard, and those leaves. So these 3 are attached to one petiole, which is attached here. Oh, Janet. The leaf before it was attached down on the other side of the stems. They're alternate. Leaf on one side, leaf on the other side. Leaf on one side, leaf on the other side. And that's how you distinguish them from other 3 leaflet plants that come up in the garden, like box elder trees, some of the maples, raspberry. If they are opposite, where there's a leaf on either side of the stem, that's not poison ivy. On poison ivy, 1 leaf on one side, 1 leaf on the other side. Alternate and 3 leaflets. Now this is bindweed, so this happens to be a place where I find poison ivy a lot and found that one. But I put this in for the sake of the gloves. If I find just 1 poison ivy seedling, or I see just 1 small plant that's gotten started, and I'm wearing latex gloves like this, I will grab the poison ivy with that, just like I'm weeding out other things, and I'll take it out. And then I will get rid of the gloves. I'll put them into a bucket of water with bleach, and then I'll wash them the next time. Or if they're older gloves, I'll throw them out. But if I'm seriously going to work in poison ivy, I'm going to get garbed up different than that. This, in that case, where I was working along and pulling that bindweed, I found this is a seedling. This is the first year for this poison ivy. It sprouted, it grew this leaf, it grew another leaf on the other side, another leaf on the other side, and now has developed at the end of the year a runner, leaf on one side, leaf on the other side, and is moving out. And that's 1 year. In no time at all, that can become quite the colony that's hard to get out. So you want to watch for seedlings if you know that you've got poison ivy climbing up somewhere. And we do, 2 houses away. This is a crabapple tree, and this is poison ivy. The tree is, this is August, September, and the tree has dropped all of its leaves because of apple scab. It's lost them all. But the leafy part of the tree is all poison ivy. 3 leaflets, alternate, and on a vine. The vine that climbs on poison ivy is hairy. It's gripping with these little hairs. It's not, there are some vines that curl and grab hold. There's like honeysuckle does, wisteria does, they wrap around and hold, bittersweet does. There are some that hold by hold fast, like grapevines get these little tendrils, like right here, there'll be one tendril coming off and stuck on the side, like the electrodes they use for an EKG or an EEG. But poison ivy has a hairy vine when it gets going upward, like a millipede crawling up the trunk. And it can get big. People will often say, well, I have poison oak because it's big. This is poison ivy, this trunk going up this tree. And Steve is illustrating how big it is, but not touch. Don't you touch that, Stephen. It's a huge thing. It can, like all vines climbing on a tree, get to the top of the tree, shade out the top of the tree will die, this will continue to grow, hanging onto the trunk of the tree, and eventually become a freestanding tree, and people will call that poison oak. It's not poison oak, it's poison ivy. Poison oak belongs in the Pacific Northwest and Tennessee and South. We don't have any in Michigan naturally. These are the berries that form. The flowers were just greenish white in small clusters, but these are the berries that are forming on that crabapple tree. I'm sorry that it's not in good focus. I'm not good at seeing my screen when I take pictures, but there you go. And that's what ends up in my yard because we feed the birds. The birds eat the berries over here. They come over to our yard and they poop berries, seeds into our yard. Life in the fast lane. They also poop them into other neighbors' yards. So this is kitty corner across the street from us, Jen's yard, and her Weigelia. The day that I was taking pictures of the poison ivy seed fruits in that crabapple, I looked over and went, oh, for crying out loud, there's poison ivy climbing up here. And Jen knew about it. She said, yeah, I knew it. I didn't see it until it climbed out to the edge, and now I've got to get it all out of there. I think I'll take the whole thing out. That's one thing to do, just take the whole thing right out of there. When I have a serious poison ivy job to do, like if I was doing Jen's Weigelia or someplace else, I'll show you one shortly, I'm going to gear up, and I will wear throwaway latex gloves. And if there's any chance that I might be having to crawl on the ground or have my legs in the poison, walking through poison ivy, I wear rain pants. If I'm working where I think I'm in great danger of touching my arms or something to it, I will also wear a rain suit, and then I'll wash those. I've read differing accounts that say that you should wear cotton because it absorbs the oil. Thank you, I don't want it absorbing any oil. I want it keeping the oil from touching me all the way. And I might be entirely wrong, so I'm into polyester. I'll wear these pants, I'll wear disposable gloves, I wear long sleeves, and you can see it's a shredded cuff on this sweatshirt. I wear old clothes because if I think I touched it, I'm throwing the clothes out. Yes, you can wash them, and I have washed them, like my good gardening pants. I don't wash them twice. Some books say to wash them twice, and I seem to be okay, but I don't know that that's for sure. I'll also take old bed sheets. When I work with neighbors' poison ivy, my deal is I'll help you with your poison ivy. I need old sheets because I'm going to spread this sheet out next to where I'm working. And as I clip or dig out poison ivy, and I'm taking it out just like I'd take out any weed, I'm throwing those pieces onto a big surface of a sheet, of a bed sheet. When I'm done, I can roll that sheet up and put the whole sheet and the poison ivy that's inside it into a garbage bag without touching it because I've rolled the sheet on top of itself. It worked really well for me. I've tried throwing the poison ivy away into a bag right away. I end up getting my arm into that bag, and I don't want my arm in that bag. I want the sheet to go in. Now, I also have a problem with this area right here. Oh, I thought I took a picture of it, but I didn't. When I get poison ivy, I almost always get it on my wrist because at some point while you're working, your shirt will get pushed up and it'll gap away from your glove. So in order to prevent that from happening, I cut old sweat socks in half. And then I pull that over, after I put on my gloves, I pull that so now it's over the gap. And when I'm ready to throw away the poison ivy into the bag, I peel off the sweat sock and the glove. The sweat sock lets me touch the glove without touching the glove directly. I peel both of them off and throw them into the bag too. Throw away the gloves and the sweat sock. And if I'm working in a big project where I'm going to be working for a while, I will throw away, I will get up and clean myself off maybe every 25 minutes. I have a tendency to want to push my glasses up. No, your hands just touch poison ivy. You have to not touch stuff. I'll take my gloves off, rinse my hands, push my glasses back up, put gloves back on again, and go on again. Are there questions about that? I'm seeing things rolling by, so I'm going to look and see, because I'll show you a situation that I got into. There we go. Thank you, Carol. I wondered if it was your... okay. Never ever mow poison ivy. Right, if you don't mow it and don't throw it in a chipper shredder. It can get into the air and you can breathe the oil in. Someone tells you doing something wrong, hand them the shovel, sit back and watch. Yes, it's a good quote. I can't remember where that one came. I think it might have come from my mom. The leaflets of 3, sometimes they have a notch. I call them a mitten. Many times poison ivy leaves look with one lobe on the side, in Michigan especially, but that's not always the case. I'm glad if you look at the root structure, because yeah, we need to know what the root structure looks like. Mask, gloves, rubber boots, get grilling tongs, cut the top off and put it in a paper bag. Boy, it's hard to work with tongs. I have over the years gotten to saying I'm just going to work with my hands, because trying to work with tongs, now I've touched the poison ivy with the tongs, what are those tongs going to touch next? I have problems with that. There are companies that specialize in poison ivy control. Most of the tree care companies can do poison ivy for you if you find that you have a big patch of it. It's not cheap. We've interviewed a few companies because our neighborhood has a lot of poison ivy in it, and we have it in some community areas, so we worked with them to get it out. I don't know who they hire and how they do it, but I know that sometimes they wear Tyvek suits, the hazmat suits, when they go in to work on something. And you can, if you do kill poison ivy, either by spraying a foliar spray on the leaves, like a brush killer, or you cut the poison ivy stem and you paint it, remember that vine, even dead, has the oil in it. You're still going to have to gear up to take that stuff off of there once it's dead, if it dies. Sometimes it doesn't kill it. Yeah, poison ivy smoke, it can be terrible. I've been there when people who were chipping it and not realizing they were chipping poison sumac ended up in emergency at the hospital. Okay, so I will keep going. So here's the situation in our neighborhood. This is a community owned piece of property where 2 roads come together, and this whole strip along here is mixed Virginia creeper here with 5 leaflets and the sawtooth edge, and poison ivy. There it is, and here's your thumbs. The lobe is sticking out to the side. It's all mixed in that whole area. It is up the trees, very healthy stuff, going up the trees, many trees, and then from the trees creeping out further. Poor guys that mow along there, I wonder about them. This is my granddaughter, and no, she's not touching it, she's just illustrating, because we were sending a picture to make sure that they knew what we were having them look for, that there's the poison ivy. This stuff right here is not the poison ivy, that's it. And that's poison ivy creeping up and coming over the edge there. So working on those kind of places where I'm gonna wade in. I am going to find the first poison ivy that I see here. I'm garbed up, I'm dressed for poison ivy control. I'm going to find the first poison ivy I find here. I'm going to take hold of it and I'm going to pull that vine up to push it back to where it grows. I'm going to flop it over backwards away from me, because I know that they're running on the ground and I need to go to the place where they're rooted. So I'll pick up the pieces, I'll flop them backwards until I get to a place where it's rooted, then I'll put a fork underneath it, loosen it, pull that whole clump out, walk it out onto the street or nearby where I've got the sheet laid out, and I'll throw that on the sheet. Then I come back and I'll do the same thing with other pieces until I get it down to the pieces going up the tree. And usually I will leave the pieces going up the tree and just cut a section out of the bottom, because in pulling them off, they tend to splinter, and I can come back in the winter time when it's a lot safer to be dealing with poison ivy because I'm so covered up, I'm sweating and hot in the summertime. I'll come back in the winter and take off what I couldn't get. Does the pollen of poison ivy have oil in it? I don't know. I really don't know, but poison ivy is not a wind pollinated plant. It's an insect pollinated plant, so the pollen is heavy. It's not blowing in the wind. It's being carried by insects. Do the poison ivy roots come out fairly easily on new runners that are coming out here? Yes, it's just kind of like ivy or myrtle that roots from the nodes. If it hasn't been there very long, it comes out fairly easily. Where you get to a junction where you've got a bunch of vines coming out together, you've got a lot more roots and it's a lot harder to pull out. Yeah. Yeah, those cute little bumblebees can carry poison ivy pollen. Don't know what they, I really don't know. I'll have to talk to a serious beekeeper or bee researcher about what happens to the bees with poison ivy. Okay, few minutes left. Thank you, Bree, for showing us the poison ivy once again. Scabiosa caucasica, the only pincushion flower that I think is worthwhile. I really don't like butterfly blue. It's half the size of this one, half the size flowers. It's just not a great cut flower. Scabiosa caucasica has just come into bloom this week, and it has a long bloom time. It has the blue, like, you just don't find those blues everywhere. It also dries well. I originally started growing pincushion plant because the seed pod makes a nice dried flower. But anyway, it's a nice plant. It's a beautiful color. Deadheading still going on in my garden. What you do when you're deadheading is you're taking seeds off, and that, among other things that it does, it curtails unwanted spread. Secondarily, for me, it looks better when you're not watching seeds develop, but it's never essential to deadhead. Now in my yard, I decided this year, I am going to make it a point to deadhead the cranberry. This is the cranberry meridema, or sea kale. It's a beautiful blue-leafed cabbage relative, and it does bloom white. And I'm, after it's done blooming, see where it was, south or downhill of the penstemon and beyond the pinks here. Downhill of the penstemon, there's the leaves, and they're growing back up. They're going to be huge leaves. Right now they're just kind of small, but I cut it all down. From that clump there, I got 2 completely stuffed full yard waste bags of flower stalks. This is what it looks like when it's blooming. It smells wonderful, like honey. But I didn't deadhead it last year, and as a result, I got lots of seedlings, more seedlings than I want to have. Seeds are developing there. See the round balls? So I'm going to go in and just cut the stalks right down to ground level. I deadheaded the peonies too at the same time because botrytis time. So these are coming off, because every one of those makes several seeds, and you have thousands of seeds. Now I have the nice blue foliage to look at, and it's going to grow up even bigger than the leaves will get bigger than that. And it took hour and a half to get that all taken out, but it was worth it because I don't really want to have that many seedlings. If Michelle is here, she's looking at my penstemon and going, well, why don't you deadhead the penstemon? We actually like that spreading around. It doesn't bother us so much because it does set a lot of seeds too. This is the first year we've seen in our garden here, the first time that we've seen the Campanula persicifolia, the peach leaf bellflower, because every year until now, this is phlomis behind it. This is the first year that they look like what we'd hoped they'd look like, because every other year the deer walk right through there and eat that. There's 3 campanulas, and they eat them all down. For some reason, they're not eating over there this year. Must have more things for them to eat elsewhere. This guy's beautiful, isn't he? I think it's called a crocodile monitor, but look at that pattern on its back. Is nature wonderful or what? Blue-eyed grass, especially if you've got a wet area. Blue-eyed grass is native throughout the Great Lakes, and it's just a beautiful, and can be a long blooming plant when it's in a rain garden or someplace else that stays reasonably moist. Oh, that's it. Oh my gosh. Well, we have 2 minutes. I guess I can go and hang out with my grandkids, but if there's questions. The botanical name for the pincushion flower that I like is Scabiosa, bad name, Scab, I-O-S-A, Caucasica, Caucasian Mountains, the Caucasus Mountains, sorry, Scabiosa caucasica. Does the grass need full sun? I'm sorry, which grass? Oops, sorry. Trying to find which grass we might be. Hey, back. I don't know which grass we were talking about, Bonnie, so we need to have that. We need to
It was the blue stem one with the blue flowers.
Oh, it's called blue-eyed grass, but it's a member of the iris family, believe it or not. And it does it need full sun?
It started off in like good sun, but the trees have gotten so big it's now in shade, and I was just wondering whether I should move the guys.
Well, it certainly occurs in full sun and edges of marsh. I'm not done yet. You can wait. There's Carmia. But in my garden, it's in half sun and it's still blooming well. I don't think it blooms for as long, but it will grow in the part shade. But I see it most often in the full sun in the wild.
Yeah, well, it was in sun and it was wet there, but not anymore.
Yeah. Oh well, gardens always need to have something tweaked for them, don't they? Always
Yeah.
something tweaked. Well, unless there is something that you have a question about, I'm going to sign off and go find out why the dog who should be playing with the kids is up here yelling at me. And we will see you next Friday. Wait a minute. It's not June 12th. I know I changed that. Okay, June 26th. Yeah, so next Friday we'll be here. And then we'll be off. Fridays will be off for 2 weeks because we're taking off the 4th of July weekend. And the weekend after, we have a webinar. So June 26th, if you've got questions, and then of course you can always email them to us and we'll hang on to them for the Free4All Friday that comes in July 18th. See you in a week.